It is currently 8:42 in the morning, and it's wet and rainy and disgusting here in Washington, but I'm a little bored, so I figured let me try and do a video. This video is probably going to try and explain how my knife collection elevated because everybody gets into this hobby for different reasons. So what I did in this video is I chose certain knives to show the elevation of my knife collecting and how I got to where I am now. The collection is pretty much arranged from the cheapest to the most expensive. Now you can't see everything that's in this video all in one shot, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to be pulling out each of the knives and holding them up close and then talking as I go. So, basically, we're the top row of this entire collection are all production knives, certain production knives where I show the elevation of where I'm going and how I began to collect in my head and the things that I was thinking about when I was trying to get this collection together. What I have here is only a fraction of my collection, so hopefully, this video will give you some insight on how I think as a collector. And it's probably maybe not quite similar to how other people think about when they're starting a knife collection. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I can see that no one has hopped on, which is fine. Hopefully some of you guys will check out my video later on after you guys are done feasting or whatever. So let's go ahead and begin. So this is the very first custom I'm showing you. I just wanted to show you guys here. This is the Kershaw Natrix, and that's another thing that I may not remember the names of all these knives, but I'm going to try. So this is the Kershaw Natrix XL. And this is probably like the cheapest knife that I have in my collection. And this has actually changed, over time. I've had some discontinued low-budget knife in place of this knife, because I just kept on changing it. But I thought that the Kershaw Natrix was one of the ones that I really wanted to have in my collection. It's a user. I probably can't tell, and the reason you can't tell is because my last Kershaw Natrix I pretty much used to death, and I had to get another one. But, it's a really good knife. It runs on ball bearings, has really great action. The centering is really good. You know what I mean? It's a big, hefty knife. G10 backspacer, G10 scales overall. So yeah, the quality is there. That's basically what this knife is doing in my collection. So now we move on to the next knife in my collection. This one is also a Kershaw. This is the Kershaw Bare Knuckle. This is where my knife collecting already begins to elevate. I start going to what's called sprint runs. This is a sprint run of the Kershaw Bare Knuckle, which normally comes in G10 and 14C28N blade steel. This one's an M390 black wash and carbon fiber scales. And this knife will run you roughly, I don't know, I think it runs like a 139, 140 at the time. Pretty reasonable for a knife of such quality. You're getting M390 blade steel. You're getting a nice deep pocket carry clip. The scales are all carbon fiber. That's another star of the show. And the blade is also black wash. Really sweet blade. That's what kind of drew me to this knife. I really liked it a lot, so I got this one. So moving along, we're going to go with the Civivi button lock knife. And this one gets used quite a lot. Look at that. You can see I've been basically using this as an eating knife. So this, again, is where the knife collection starts to elevate because now I'm going for mechanism. Right? These two are just regular folders right here. Nothing spectacular. They're both flippers. This one's a flipper, right? But now you notice my knife collecting starting to elevate in this way by me choosing a different type of mechanism, which is a button lock. I'd never experienced that before, so I kind of wanted to figure out what that was all about. And the appeal of a button lock is just how full shut that guy is. It's just an amazing feeling. It just drops really great. Perfectly centered. The blade steel is, yeah, I can't quite remember what the blade steel is on this one, but I'm going to try and see if I can recall. But in any case, yeah, so the main reason I got this one was because it's a button lock. I never had one before, so I didn't know what this was about. You got a nice deep pocket carry clip. It's got aluminum scales. It's a really good sturdy. Oh, I remembered the steel. It's a Nitro I believe V10, is that what it's called? Really good steel. Like I said, I use it as an eating knife. So there you have it. We're going to move on now to my next production knife. As I said, all these knives up on the top are all production knives, and I'm just trying to show you how my knife collection elevated. I always wanted a paramilitary, okay? But by this point in time, I've already experienced these 3 knives. There's no way in hell I'm going to go back and get, the regular paramilitary in, G10, right? So I waited, okay, to get this knife in carbon fiber and M4 steel. So now you see a change, right? So we go from like these low budget steels, the price starts to elevate, and I'm changing direction of how I'm collecting or trying to discover something new. This is what happens with all people that begin knife collections. So I'm now into this area of collecting where I'm like, well, I've experienced these 3 knives. They're really cool, but now I want to bump it up a little bit. Let's bump it up, right? So I bump it up to the paramilitary, which is a knife that everybody knows, but why not get a different version of it, right? So we go with all carbon fiber scales. So this is where your mind starts thinking, not custom, but you can see how the collection starts to elevate and you're going in a different direction. I don't know about customs yet at this point, but all I know is I'm beginning to discover materials and what other things can be made by knives. We also have the first introduction for myself at this point for the compression lock, which was so famous, made famous and invented by Spyderco Company. It's just a really great mechanism to experience, and you can hear other knife makers talk about the compression lock and why it's so awesome. I'm not going to go into it, but I mean, yeah, it's a different feel. So we have M4 steel blade, which is really great. We've got a drop point. No, not a drop point. Oh, my God. I believe it's a clip point style blade. The Spyderco hole, first time I've ever experienced that at this point. And this is actually my 3rd paramilitary. I just wanted to get the one in M4 steel, something different with the all carbon fiber scale. So now my collection's starting to now elevate. So let's elevate this and bump it up more. So now we're still into the concept of mechanism, right? I've never seen a mechanism like this, and I've never seen a knife like this, in a sense that now we're changing direction once again. These are all folders, okay? Here's the difference. These are all folders. This is a folder here. The knife is made with 2 scales sandwiched together to make the knife, right? And we got the compression lock. So that's something new I didn't know about, right? So here again, with this particular knife, let me put this back. With this knife here, a couple of things made me get into this. Number one, this is called an integral piece. So unlike the other knives you just seen in this so far in this collection as it elevates, these were all sandwiched knives. Here for the first time we got one solid piece of titanium. There is no line in the middle that shows that it's a sandwich knife. This is just one solid piece of titanium, and it's a heavy sucker. So again, another experience. I never had that before, never seen it before. I didn't know anything about it. I wanted to know what was this about, and the mechanism's different again. We have an SLT for a spring-loaded tab. This was invented by Gus Guccini. And he invented the spring-loaded tab. Basically, it's kind of like a charger on a gun. There's a spring in the flipper, and you hold it to about this point, and then you just basically press, and the knife pops right out. Very, very effortless, very effortless. And Gus Caccini has actually taken the spring-loaded tab, and he's improved it over the years. ZT came out with a spring-loaded tab, one of his first generations. It worked quite well, but it took a while for people to figure out how it operated, because you would get it to this point and then try and push, but it wouldn't really pop open as easily as this one. So I think Gus Caccini went back to the drawing board and decided he wanted to make it a lot easier for people to access this spring-loaded tab. So he went back and he reinvented it or redid it, and now it works perfectly. So this one's an all copper. Copper color. Like I said, it's all one piece, sculpted titanium. One of the weirdest things about this is that it's got like 2 relief cuts. The back one is necessary, right? But the front one, I think he just did it for, I don't know, like aesthetics or something. But it's sculpted really nice, and it feels really good in the hand. So, yeah. So, spring-loaded tab. So now we're moving on. This one is really near and dear to my heart, the next knife, because they don't make it anymore, and what a damn shame. Very few people even have this knife. You go on eBay and you try and dig up this knife, it's going to probably cost you right around $1,000 now. At the time when this knife was being released, it was $450. This is the Benchmade Anthem. Now, Benchmade is mostly a tool company or tool knife company. They're not known for making knives inventive and custom. They're interested in making a tool. So I don't have the knife that led up to the making of this knife, but it's called the Benchmade Sequel, and it had what was called an Omega spring in the middle of the knife. In other words, there's this little metal spring inside this knife, you know, on the other version, the Sequel, that sat inside this knife here. And basically you would push back on it and the blade would fall back. But it wasn't as smooth as the knife that I got in my hand. The Benchmade Sequel with the Omega spring inside of it, basically you had 2 choices. You could either tighten the blade, and the action wouldn't be this smooth, but it would be solid as a rock, or you could loosen the pivot and then have it sort of try to be as smooth as this, but unfortunately there would be blade play. So basically, Benchmade went back to the drawing board, and what they did was they decided it would need 2 mechanisms to hold the knife in place in order to get what they were looking for, which was really nice, smooth, that drop-down action, and be as solid as a rock. So what they did was they got rid of the Omega spring and they put a coil spring inside the knife. I don't know if you can see it here. You probably can't. Well, no, maybe you can see it a little bit right there. So the coil spring adheres to the back of the knife, and it basically, what it allows you to do is it allows it to stay nice and smooth, and then not have any blade play. So it's just perfect. So that's basically why the Anthem is so famous. And like the previous knife I showed you, it's all one piece. All one piece. I added a little, this does not come with the knife. This is a Damascus pocket clip, because the pocket clip that came with this knife, it looked exactly like the design of the knife, but it wasn't functional. I thought it sucked, so I got rid of it. And I had asked Adam Purvis to build me, not build me, but make me a pocket clip for this knife. And it turns out that he had so many orders for this particular pocket clip, or a pocket clip that fit this knife, that he actually had to make quite a bit of them on stock, so people would be able to replace the original pocket clip themselves and just put it on their knife, and that's what I did. So the next knife is here in my collection because it's a really famous knife. This is the Smoke knife. You guys probably have heard of this one. This is the Smoke, and all of a sudden my mind, I can't even remember who makes this one. My mind just goes blank. But one of the reasons why this knife is really popular and why I really liked it, it's the first knife I'd ever seen that was this thin and this sort of just thin and gentlemanly carry. It's almost like you could wear this with like a suit. It's all carbon fiber scales. I like that one part of the knife is carbon fiber and the back part of it is titanium, sort of like a yin and yang thing going. You can see how my mind works. I also like the fact that it's a front flipper. Do you notice that? So the knives are now all regular flippers. Now here's my first introduction to a front flipper. I'd never seen this before. Front flippers were introduced by Fred Berger in South Africa. He did not invent the front flipper, but he did bring it over to America. South Africans had always been into front flipper, and it's their choice of deployment, whereas here in the United States, we like the regular flipper here on the back of the knife. And this has M390 steel. And again, just a nice little elevation. I like the fact that it was a very small carry, like an office knife, someplace where I could have a knife in my pocket and it's not as intimidating as all the other knives you see before. You pull out one of these things in front of somebody, they might run the other direction. So this kind of was like my attempt in like, okay, I'm into this hobby. I like knives. I'm in love with this hobby. I want other people to kind of like what I like also. So I kind of got the smoke as go, well, it's sort of a thin office knife. So hopefully if I pull this out, it won't scare the hell out of people. And it turns out I was right. It actually didn't scare the hell out of people. They just thought, oh, what a nice knife. And that was it. The next knife, again, is my last knife in the production world. This one is made by Best Tech Knives and a knife made by Greg Gabarski. He's a Polish knife maker. And the reason I like this knife is because the action on it was amazing. I had never felt anything like it. It was very smooth, not just like in drop down action, but actual when you press, you can feel just how quick it deploys, and it feels the same way going up as it does down. I never felt that. This is now one of the other reasons I wanted to get this knife was because it's an all titanium piece. But here's the other thing. This is my first introduction, sort of, to CNC machining in knife making. As you know, there's two ways of making knives in the knife world. There's the made by hand, many cases one-offs, and then there's CNC machining, which gets very underrated as if though, well, you're making this knife with a machine, so there's no skill. Actuality, it's actually the opposite. There's tons of skill that goes into the technology of making a knife by skill, and Greg Gabarski is one of the best. Like taking a really good close look at this piece, you can see all of what's called milling on the knife, like all these design features on it. It's kind of hard to see it here, but as you can see, first of all, you can see like this little design here, and then it's got like a line going down over here. That's all done by machining, but it's usually done by a very skilled machinist. So they take these designs, they draw them on paper, and they try and transfer it onto the titanium knife with CNC machining. It's actually a very highly skilled. Takes a lot of highly skilled effort to put this on here. And I wish you guys could see this so you can really appreciate it. But inside, in between the knives, there's all like these really super tiny lines on the knife. You can't see it, but the milling on it is just absolutely amazing. Plus, it's got great action. It's actually starting to rain here, so I'm going to try and move up the video goal faster. The next knife is made by Adam Purvis. Revisiting Adam Purvis. Adam Purvis is the pocket clip guy. Like I said, he made the pocket clip for this knife here, but he also makes knives, and this is one of his knives. And this knife here is... I wish I could remember the name of it. Made by Adam Purvis. This is my very first sort of like American custom. So, yeah, so this is an American custom, runs on ball bearings. So now he's got, it's got carbon fiber scales on it, as you guys can see. Really well done. It's got a nice clip point blade on it. So that's really cool. The next knife is done by Jason Clark. I got this guy's knife because he reminded me, and again, it's a custom. This is a one-of-a-kind handmade. We're now getting into one-of-a-kind knives. And I think after this knife, I'm going to stop the video and go inside and do the rest of it if I can. I'm going to try to speed it up, though. So this is made by Jason Clark. We've got zirconium bolsters, carbon fiber scales, and zirconium pocket clip. It's a tactical knife. It's got sort of a dagger-shaped blade. Kind of really cool. The action's really nice, runs on ball bearings. All the knives at the elevation of this collection now run on ball bearings. So there you go. And this is where the knives are starting to elevate in price. Case in point, I believe this knife cost me like $340, right around there, $340. And then this one bumps up in price to like $887 or something like that. It's really getting kind of expensive. I'm going to stop the video because it's starting to rain. I don't want to ruin my knife collection. So I'm going to try and reset up inside my garage. Maybe I can figure out something. Well, maybe I can stay a little bit longer because it's not quite rainy just yet. So let me try and see if I can get through this. I can feel like my knives are getting wet though, but we'll try. This one is now made by one of the most legendary South African knife makers. My entire knife collection is South African. And this one is made by Des Horn. He made this one special for me. This is a one-of-a-kind handmade piece. I keep forgetting to mention that. This is a knife you more than likely will never see ever again. This is the only one made in the world by Des Horn. It's called My Pandemic Knife. It was supposed to be like red and blue to sort of show the pandemic. There's the line, you know what I mean? Like here we were okay, and then now the pandemic has come along and kind of taken all of us. So this is the period when I got this knife, was during the pandemic. Runs on ball bearings. It's a huge knife. The action is fall shut. So as you can see, the knife does fall shut, and really good action. I'm going to do another video on action at some point in time. So yeah, the Mvubu by Des Horn, legendary knife maker. The next one is a collaboration. So now you're starting to see that the knives are getting wet. You know, why don't I just go ahead and cover it up, and then I'll just pull it up as I do the video, because I don't want to have any more wet stuff going on. These knives are really expensive. So this is the A2 knife. This is called an A11, right? Blue carbon fiber scale, zirconium pocket clip. Zirconium pivot, titanium milled pocket clip, blue, just blue all over. Nice fall shut action. And this knife was chosen because it's a collaborative piece. This knife is made by legendary knife maker Andre Thorburn and Andre Van Heerden. Two guys making a knife. I thought that was interesting. Two guys, not one guy, two guys. And that's why it's called A2. A2 knives. And yeah, pretty cool. Nice drop shot action. So the next knife, this one's kind of interesting. A lot of people don't think of the traditional when you talk about custom knives. This one is made by J.D. Ellis. He's a slip joint maker. Now, this knife may not appeal to a lot of the younger knife collectors out there, but this is called a slip joint. It's a two-handed open knife, which is probably a turn-off for a lot of people. And actually, not that it's a turn-off for me, but I don't have very many knives of this type. So this is a two-handed opener knife. Basically, the knife opens manually with two hands, and this is called the walk and talk. So walk and talk meaning, you know, it stops at this point, and then to open the blade all the way, there you go. Now you're ready to use it, and it locks back in place. How good a walk and talk is just how good the spring, the skilled knife maker is in creating a spring that's strong enough to support the knife when you're using it. Not only that, but basically a really good test of the walk and talk. Again, I don't know where that name came from, but walk and talk basically means that, you know, it's sort of a stop point. But a really good skilled maker can make the knife so that they can do the walk and talk, and it won't close on your hand. See what I'm saying? I had my hand right there, and this knife is really sharp, and it didn't close on my hand, causing me danger, causing serious injury to yourself. So a really good skilled maker would be able to know how to make a really good slip joint. Slip joints are very, very popular in South Africa with a lot of the older generation. This is how they prefer their knives, because they're not collectors. They're into getting a good tool to their everyday tasks, around, when they need a really good knife. This one is a one-of-a-kind handmade piece, based off of Jason Guthrie's model, the Ranger. It's the first time that J.D. Ellis ever created a knife using another person's design. This is also one-of-a-kind handmade piece. You're never, ever going to see another one like it again, and I own it. It's in my collection. I love it. This is only one of 2 of J.D. Ellis's slip joints that are in my collection. I will be getting a third at some point. He's definitely one of my favorite knife makers. Very underrated simply because he creates strictly slip joints, although he has gotten into the flipper world. So let's go ahead and move on to the next knife. So now the knives are now elevating. I think I can open up. Looks like it stopped raining. Elevating some more. This one is made by a French knife maker. So now, even though my knife collection is all South African, I'm kind of trying to create a knife collection where I get like one custom knife from every part of the region of the country from a really good knife maker, you know what I mean? Just do one of every, and I'm supposed to call it like the world's collection. So far, I only have 3. So I haven't gone down that road yet, but I've got as you can see before, I've got like an American knife by Jason Clark. This is my French knife by J.P. Martin. Now, J.P. Martin is a French knife maker, and his big inspiration into making knives, doesn't surprise me, Des Horn, who's the legendary South African knife maker. He somehow, I think he purchased one of Des Horn's knives many, many years ago and decided that he wanted to do the same thing and make knives. Now, one of the things that Des Horn is famous for, this knife runs on ball bearings, which is something that Des Horn normally does not do. But he did it for me because I had asked him to put it on ball bearings, and it actually, from what I understand, it took him a while to do it because he usually doesn't do ball bearing knives. All of his knives run on washers, and he's an expert at it. So back to this knife. J.P. Martin, or Jean-Pierre Martin, who is the French knife maker that made this knife. This knife does not run on ball bearings. It runs on washers. But as you can see, the knife is incredibly smooth. Very smooth. You wouldn't think that this thing runs on washers, but it does. All carbon fiber scales, Damascus inlays, and there's a secret with this knife that a lot of people don't know. Check this out. This is one of the coolest things. Are you ready? Hidden pocket clip. Right? It's really the only reason for me to get this knife is that it's got this hidden pocket clip. You just sort of press on it and this thing sticks right into your pocket and you're good to go. Or you could just stick it in your pocket and that's it. A front flipper. Again, you can do it with your index finger. We got a nice Wharncliffe style blade. Sorry I didn't go over like the blades and everything, only because it's raining and everything. But this is just a quick overview so I could show you how my knife collection has elevated. So all carbon fiber scales. This is not an integral. You can see the backspacer there is all carbon fiber. But one of the nice things I like is that the carbon fiber backspacer goes all the way up to the top of the blade, completely closing it. If I'm going to have a backspacer on a knife, and this is one of my things you'll see in my knife collection. I want either no backspacer at all, and the entire knife is being held by just maybe a barrel spacer, or have it completely closed like this. Those two are like turn-ons for me. Anything in the middle, you know, it's like I'm not saying I tolerate it, but, you know, it is what it is. That's not going to stop me from getting the knife, you know, because I'm not really into like the halfway thing. But, you know, it is what it is, and it's a representation of what the knife maker intends. And if you're going to be a knife collector, you're going to want to at least make that compromise, because it's an honor to have anybody's, you know, any of these legendary knife makers' knives in your collection. Yeah, so J.P. Martin, awesome piece. We're now elevating the collection again to some degree. This is an Andre Thorburn piece, and I think I own 5 from Andre Thorburn. He's another legendary knife maker on the same par as Des Horn. These two guys are the older generation of knife making, and they were there way at the beginning before custom knives even took off. They're just amazing, amazing knife makers. This one's done in all camo carbon fiber. We've got a zirconium pocket clip. The design of the knife is very ergo-friendly. You've got all these notches for your fingers. Really fantastic. Carbon fiber backspacer. Here's where you start to see file work on a knife. Okay, that's another reason, is this file work is all done by hand. So you can imagine that this is a very expensive knife just because it's time-consuming to make something like this done by hand. Now, Andre Thorburn is not your typical knife maker. Most knife makers from South Africa make their knives completely by hand. He does have CNC machining. So he is a half machine, half CNC machine, half CNC machine, half made by hand kind of guy. This is a really beautiful knife. The blade steel on this is M390. So, really great blade. Drop down action. So there you go. Moving on, we're back to Des Horn. Now, the knives are now starting to... Actually, I'm going to switch this over, if you guys don't mind, so I can kind of get you... see the elevation again, because I actually had them in the wrong place. Okay, so... let me just move this over. The next knife I'm going to talk about is from one of my favorite knife makers, Clyde Challenor. This one shows elevation in a sense that this one is called the Viper. And the reason why this knife is so significant, let me wipe it off because the rain is really starting to get to it. I'm kind of thankful that I'm towards the end of the knife collection. This one's kind of... shows elevation in a sense that this knife is actually made by 2 different people, but 2 different people in a different sense. The knife is built by Clyde Challenor. The design is made by Francois Nel, creating this knife called the Viper. It's one of the more popular South African knives and very sought after by American knife collectors, not only like by me, but just about everybody. If you go on YouTube, you'll or even Instagram, you will hear, I'm sure you guys have all heard of Epic Snuggle Benny. You know, he and I are acquainted with each other. He's not I can't say he's a friend, but we're acquainted with each other through this hobby. I've chatted with him on Instagram. You guys can chat with him too. I mean, he's a really cool guy. He constantly promotes Clyde Challenor. They're very close friends. Clyde Challenor is also a friend to me as well, in a sense that he took the time to do a little experimentation on my knife. His knives are mostly gray in color. He took the time to do some experimentation on this one and another Viper that I have. I've got 2 Vipers from him. The other one is called the Ghost Viper because there's no pivot on it. I think I've showed that on one of my videos in the past. But this one, he decided to blacken the titanium, which is something he had never done before, to make it match the Damascus, and it turned out perfectly. He has these carbon fiber inlays on the knife. And this knife is definitely a one-of-a-kind, handmade, not half CNC machining, half made by hand, taking a nod to Andre Thorburn, who does the same thing. So these two guys have something in common. So that's another reason why you get into this hobby, because you're starting to learn how the knife makers operate, how they are kind of like related to each other in a way, how they influence each other. You know, you got two knife makers making knives the same way, and yet it's a different result. I mean, these two knives look completely different, but yet they're making knives the same way. But yeah, CNC machining and made by hand. Very, very well done. Finally, one thing about this particular Viper. The inlays are really stand out on this knife, more so on others. If you go on Clyde Chalonor's website, you're going to see a different type of shape of inlay on your knife. You're not going to see this. You're going to see more of a coffin shape. And this one, he has it where it wraps around the pivot, right? He stopped doing that. Clyde Chalonor stopped doing that because he said, what a pain in the ass it is to do this, just to have it wrap around like that. And he's going to have to do it for like 15, 20, 30 customs. And it's like, nope, I can't do this. So he came up with this sort of like this coffin shape where it's, you know, sort of right, like, looks like a coffin, stuck right in the middle. And he puts, of course, the inlays on both sides of the knife, which is something you don't normally see on a production knife. On production knives, it's always just on one side of the knife. Here he's got it on both. So moving on, and it's raining again, so let me go ahead and close it up. Moving on, this was actually one of the most significant customs in my collection. It was one of the very first ones I ever got. This is the Andre Thorburn L38 custom in white Westinghouse, and we've got like an eagle on it. His wife does the engraving on that. And we've got a titanium pocket clip. Again, file work on the knife. Not carbon fiber backspacer, G10, so I'm kind of bummed about that, but still, you know, nothing wrong with G10. It's just that if I'm going to have a custom knife, I'd rather have carbon fiber. It's more of an important material to me than G10. G10 is a filler material. You can find G10 on regular production knives, which is why I don't like it. But custom knife makers will usually use G10 as filler to lower the price of a knife. But, you know, it happens. We've got M390 steel on this one. Really well done, nice drop point blade. And the white Westinghouse is what makes this knife stand out. If you guys don't know what white Westinghouse is, if you've ever heard of like those old white refrigerators from the 1950s, that's what this material is. Apparently it was somewhere in a warehouse in South Africa, and they found out that this material is perfect for making knives, because in case you guys didn't realize it, South Africa has a different socioeconomic system than we have. Basically, it's a very poor country, so they have to find really good, sturdy materials to make knives with so they can make a living. We're talking about a country that shuts off the electricity at least 3 hours a night to save electricity for the entire country. So that's kind of like a big thing. They don't really have a lot of money. So, yeah. So this is the L38 model. Really well done. The action's incredible. Runs on ball bearings. So ceramic ball bearings, excuse me. So moving on, this one is now a full dress piece. And the last two knives I'm going to show back to back together, and there's a reason. So this is a full dress piece. Basically, this is probably the most expensive type of custom knife you can get. There is no part of this knife that doesn't have any art on it. The blade is Damascus, right? We've got the zirconium bolsters with these indentations on them. You've got a ball. What you have here is a ceramic ball release. That's actually the mechanism that allows the knife to close. This is not a flipper knife. It's sort of a slow roll type knife. This is more of like a tuxedo type knife, a formal knife. It comes with a nice black leather slip that you put in your pocket, no pocket clip. See what I'm saying? You've got carbon fiber scales. The knife has this sort of lacquer on it to make it more classier. I don't know what this lacquer is. I never bothered to ask him. But we've got file work on the knife, again, on the liners. That's done by hand. With Deshorn, it's done by hand. Very well done. All the way to the back. The back spacer is also Damascus. You can't really see it, but it's also Damascus. Again, all the way up to the top. I love that. I love that. So yeah, Damascus blade. Now down to the last two knives in my collection, and kind of a good thing because, you know, I'm showing both of these all at the same time so you guys can see these two. So let me just bring them both out. This is the Ghost Fin, and I just did a video on this model knife just like last week because it's the latest custom that I got. Not this one, but the one I'm going to show you next. This is sort of an example where this knife is made by Henny Duplessis, first of all. Henny Duplessis is a special knife maker to me because he's a very, very close friend of mine. We chat at least once a month, and I try to get him to just try not to talk to him too much, basically, because every time I talk to him, I wind up getting a new knife, and that's pretty dangerous. But, you know, it happens. It happens. So this is the Ghost Fin. It's a really huge, gigantic knife, more of sort of like a tactical blade-shaped type knife. Yeah, this one runs on ball bearings. Very well done. We have red carbon fiber scales. It's got a engraved shield on it done by his wife Ilse. There's the shield on it is a Filipino flag. This one is a workhorse. I actually use this knife. We got a titanium pocket clip, and yeah, blade steel is RWL34, really good steel. Very popular steel in South Africa. There's Henny's initials. So that's this knife. The reason I brought this knife out was so that I could show you guys this one. Now, I just did a video on it. Now, this is his version of the full dress piece of this one. So these, again, this is what makes custom knives so awesome. Same exact model, completely different configuration. Now, obviously, this one cost a lot more because you've got a Damascus blade, you've got Damascus bolsters, you've got carbon fiber scales, you've got engraving on the back with my name on it, Damascus pocket clip, again, just like the Deshorn knife you just saw. It's a full dress piece. There is not one piece on this knife that doesn't have any artwork on it. The file work on it is amazing. If you move left and right, check it out. The file work kind of looks like there's movement on it. It's pretty crazy. And of course, yeah, the Damascus pocket clip is really, really nice. Another thing is too, when you buy customs, even though you're having the same exact model, there are going to be some differences when you get the knife. For example, the action on both these knives is completely different. This is a workhorse. This one, in other words, workhorse meaning this is a knife that just doesn't sit in a case. I actually use the hell out of it. The action on this one, the knife falls shut, right? Just falls shut, really awesome. There's no blade play on any one of these knives. It's, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's nothing. It's as solid as a rock, but it falls shut. On the custom full dress piece, it does not fall shut. Okay, it does have sort of give to it. So yeah, so this is made by Henny Duplessis, a very close friend of mine. He just had his website up. You may want to check him out at bullet2blade.com. Check out his website. It's a very primitive website for now because he just has the website up. He's trying to get his name out there, so I finally got the website up. He is from South Africa. Very, you know, he's now getting his name out there. I've been friends with him for about 7 years, and I'm probably one of the ones that bought one of his very first customs, which I don't have here, you know, to show you. But in any case, that's it for this video. It's ran 45 minutes. It's not really raining, and I'm going to get inside. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of you know, like what happens when you get into this hobby, how you will change your taste. And this entire collection is just like a reminiscence of what's left behind. Some of these knives are going to go. Some of these knives you're going to keep. Some of them will stay in your collection. Some of them you're going to sell them, and they'll become something else sometime later on down the line. But this is a small fraction of my collection. I just wanted to give you guys a quick view of what I'm into, and hopefully someday I may have inspired some other young man to be as insane as me. It is really raining out here. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. You guys have a nice and wonderful, happy Thanksgiving. And thanks so much for joining me. And you guys have a fantastic, happy Thanksgiving. This video is probably going to take forever to upload, but hopefully you won't have a problem. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll have more on another day when it's not as wet. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you later. You have a great day. I'm getting soaked. Bye-bye.